Welcome to another episode of Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where we educate and inspire the community in the areas of healthy living and quality lifestyle. Today for our first guest we have Mark Carrazzo, business consultant and coach, and continuing the series on positive psychology, he's talking to us today about engagement. So welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Linda.
And what do you mean by engagement?
Well, by engagement, Linda, I mean those sort of activities for which our concentration is totally immersed on a moment-by-moment basis. So whilst we're doing it, we actually feel that time has stopped. Now, they're generally categorised by things for which we have the necessary skills to complete the task, although there is an element of challenge and concentration required. So that's basically what I mean by engagement.
And how would we incorporate that into our daily lives then?
Well, the thing about engagement is that it's more about the process of what we're doing rather than the end result. And there are a lot of things that we do on a daily basis. They can be even routine or mundane tasks for which, if we're clever and think in advance, we can try and do it more efficiently. We can do it in a way where we don't cut corners, but we actually think about what we're doing, and we can actually increase the goal that we're hoping to get at the end of it. So there are ways in which we can increase engagement, but another good method is simply to do things which interest us or excite us. That's an easier way. The thing about engagement, Linda, is unlike positive emotions where we actually experience something, with engagement we normally don't experience any positive emotions or emotions at all, except perhaps some people who get into such a highly flow state they've told us that they experience ecstasy. But for most of us, it's a time of the day where we don't experience any emotions at all.
And Mark, what sort of activities would give us engagement or flow?
A numerous amount, Linda. I mean, the obvious place to start from is work, which can obviously give rise to engagement if we're concentrating on something and it's something for which we are slightly challenged. But lots of activities could provide it. It could be dancing, you could find engagement while you're cooking, you could find engagement whilst you're reading a good book. It's those moments of the day where time stops. And I know people who've even found engagement whilst they're talking to a good friend, having a good, open, searching conversation. So there's many activities in our everyday life that can give rise to engagement.
And what about in the workplace?
Workplace, as I say, it's a classic opportunity for people to get engaged, and I think it's more a case there about making sure that we keep lifting our goals as to what we want to get out of activities, trying to do things better, and not thinking so much of the end state, but really becoming immersed on a moment-by-moment basis in the process of what we're doing.
And so then would that give us more like a sense of well-being or happiness?
Well, definitely.
Along the way?
Definitely the research tends to suggest that people are engaged. Whilst they may not feel positive emotions at the time, it is one of those important elements or pillars of our life, together with other things that we need for overall well-being and happiness. And the other thing to consider about engagement is that it's normally associated with something for which has meaning in our life. We can think of an activity as mundane, but when we look at it as to what it's contributing to our life, it normally has some contribution to meaning or some contribution to social benefit. Also, I like to consider that engagement often, the hobbies that we do or the work that we do often is the catalyst from some of our richest and most rewarding personal relationships. And as we've said here before, relationships are so critically important to well-being in life, Linda. And of course, in the workplace, we've got good evidence that it really benefits the employer to have engaged staff. They're proven to be most productive and they're proven to be less absent so far as sick days. So there's a real incentive, of course, on the other side for the leader and the employer to have engaged staff, Linda.
And would you say then that being engaged or in flow, is that the equivalent of being, people, you've talked about meditation before, can that you can bring that into anything that you're doing?
I suppose there is a connection there, Linda, because one of the things about engagement is because our mind is so intensely occupied by what we're doing, we do not have the mental capacity to think of negatives in our life. And one of the great benefits of meditation is we learn to still our mind. For our mind to stop, we have such busy lives these days, there's so much going on, we want to decrease the chatter. And like meditation, engagement, particularly if it's associated with good, constant breathing, can give us those same qualities. Leisure activities are obviously a very important part of life. Personally, I'm a big advocate for genuine rest and renewal. I think that's really critical for people to get the best performance out of themselves on a regular basis. Curiously though, we actually find that they're more likely to get engagement when they're at work. So despite what people think, they have more moments of genuine engagement at work than they do sometimes in their leisure time. In regard to leisure, Linda, we certainly need our rest and renewal to get high levels of performance. So we should pick activities in our leisure though that give us engagement, for which we have to concentrate. They say when we watch television that we don't always get the level of engagement that we think we do. I think on only about 7 to 8% of occasions that we watch TV we're engaged. So I think the challenge is when you do those activities to find things which you gather information from that is interesting to you, but which you have to concentrate on. That's how we can lift our engagement during leisure times.
And what about some hints or tips for our viewers about how to bring more engagement? Would you have any top tips?
Oh, look, I think try and find something that you do every day, even if it's something that you think is fairly mundane or routine. It may be cooking, it may even be washing up, and try and put a little bit more process into that. Try and do it in a little bit better fashion. Don't think so much of getting it out of the way, but of the fact that you are concentrating in every moment. And I think also with engagement, it's very important to be present, to be in the moment, to be well aware of what's happening to you from time to time.
Thank you, Mark. And for more on Mark Carrazzo and engagement and positive psychology, then please go to our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And if you have any comments, queries or requests, then you can also contact us through our website and leave a message. And now we'll go to break, and we'll be back afterwards with another guest and an interesting topic on health, wellbeing and lifestyle. Welcome back, and our next guest is Helen Mack, back with us in the series of optimising outcomes, and today she's talking about creating clarity. So clarity, Helen, that's a really interesting one. Can you tell us a bit more about that? I'm sure everybody would love to have clarity in life.
It's difficult, isn't it, Linda? I think sometimes we all feel like we're wandering around in a haze trying to work out where we're going to end up. So creating clarity is obviously a key piece of optimising outcomes. And I love the clarity piece because it has such power. There's real power in getting clear about your goals, your expectations of yourself and others, and your communication of those expectations to all of the people involved. So the power of clarity is that it helps us communicate to others what we are planning to do, how we're going to do it, and including how they can support us. Remember our What's Possible conversation from session 1. And so it enables everybody who's involved to kind of get on board, whether that's you and your family, your business, your community, or some not-for-profit organisation or charity that you're involved in, whatever part of your life that you want to get optimised outcomes from, getting clear about it is part of a very critical part of the process.
So how would they go about, can you explain a bit more about clarity and how we see things?
Beautiful. So I think there's 4 layers or 4 ways in which we go through to get to a position of clarity. The first is muddy. So this is literally when you're stuck, like if you're trying to walk through a river and your boots are stuck. You might end up leaving your boots behind, or you're certainly going to end up in a mess. So muddy is a stage where you think you know where you want to go, but you're kind of stuck where you are now. And the only way to get unstuck is to make some kind of massive movement. So if you're stuck in mud, you can't just kind of wriggle forward. You've really got to push yourself out. Now, the bad news for people is that sometimes that means some kind of disagreement, some kind of blow up, because something big has to shift to get out of the mud. The second step is cloudy. So this is like trying to swim in a river where there's so much stuff in the water, so many particles in the water that you can't see where you're going. You're likely to bump into things, accidents can happen. So that the point around going from muddy to cloudy is we need to wash that through and make sure that we're focusing on the tiny points of clarity that we've got and bring those together so that we can push away the obstacles, the dirt, the stuff that's hanging around. Then we move to the third stage, which is clear. And clear sounds like it's the end of the journey, but it's the start of the clarity piece. So clear is, I now know where I am, I know where I'm going, and I can ask all of those what's possible questions that we talked about in the first session, as well as what's the best possible outcome for me now. So clear is great, but then there's one more step. If we can get to crystal, then we're really cooking. So there's two benefits about being crystal clear about something. And you know a lot about this, Linda, so I know I'm right in your space. With two elements of crystal, if you can get to crystal clear, then it creates a resonance. It creates an energy that attracts into your world the support that you need, the help that you need, and things just become much easier. And the second thing about crystal clear is that if you shine a light through crystal, it sparkles into a million different colours, you know, all of the rainbows sort of thing. And so that means you have more options and more colour, more brightness in the ability to achieve your goal. So they're the 4 steps. We need to identify where we are and then take action to get us to the next level up, ideally aiming for that crystal clear at the top.
So that brings up a lot of questions for people, doesn't it? How do I get clear? How do I do that?
Yeah. So I think that there's 6 questions that we need to ask ourselves, and these are not new. Everyone's asked these questions in various circumstances before, but if you've got the clarity lens looking at these questions, we need to ask what I call the 5 W's and the H. So why, what, when, where, who, how.
Helen, can you tell us a little bit more about the power of those questions?
Excellent question, Linda. So the thing about those questions is that regardless of your goal, if you get everyone involved in that goal to answer all of those questions, then you'll have people enrolled in the process and they'll know how to support you or what their part of it is. So let's go through a couple of different examples. So the first question that you need to ask yourself or others involved is why. So this is actually the purpose question, which can actually be a very deep, long conversation about the purpose of why am I doing this. But at a lighter level, it's simply, why is this important to me now? Why do I want to take this on? Why is it going to be important to me in my life or in the life of the other people in my world? So the why question for yourself and for others is the important pivotal starting point. So then we go, why, what? What am I going to do? What is the outcome that I'm after? And what will be the benefit to myself or to whoever else in my life that it involves? So if it's a health goal, it might just be me, but the what might have a long-term ramification or benefit to my family or my community, etc. So why, what, when? So when is an important one in terms of the timeline. Is it urgent, has to be done now, rally people around and get going? Or is it something that's a longer term plan, which gives other people time to become involved, time to get educated, time to start learning how they're going to be part of this process? So the when is around timeline and urgency. So we've got what, why, what, when. The next one is who, which is who am I going to need on my team? So if you remember my story from the first session around my late husband's illness, the challenge of that was who do we need to get involved? And so we got friends and family at various levels. We had different medical teams. It was really about bringing a team around us to take us together on this journey. So we needed to know the who's. And then you need to enroll those people, engage them, make sure that they're as excited and interested in your goal as you are. Those great supporters can make a big difference to whether you achieve that or not. Then we have where, which is it all going to happen where I am now? Does it mean me having to move? And there's been some very interesting moves in people's businesses and lives in recent times. And so you can set a goal for here, Or you can set a goal for over there. I'm going to do this where? I'm going to, once I've moved over there, I'm going to be able to do this in this new location. Or is it a transitory thing? So my where at the moment is all about working from anywhere. I want to make sure in my coaching that I can reach my people wherever I am. And so that means I can live my lifestyle while still making a difference to individuals. So my where at the moment is anywhere in the world, as long as I've got internet coverage. And then the final step is how. And the how is all about what processes am I going to use? What steps am I going to take? How do I do this thing? Do I do it alone? Do I do it within a group, in a company, in a community? How do I want to make this happen? And the most important first step of that is what's the best first step to get the best possible outcome?
Thank you, Helen. And for more about Helen Mack, we'll be back next time in the third in the series about optimising outcomes, and it's maximising our momentum. In the meantime, please go to her webpage and on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au for more information. And we'll see you after the break with another guest in the series. Now we have something completely different. Petros Delitis is joining us today, who's a chef, and he's here today talking to us about healthy eating, and he's going to show us a vegan salad dressing. Welcome, Petros.
Thanks, Linda.
Yeah. So what sort of ingredients are you working with today?
Look, I source ingredients from all over Victoria. So Carrazzo is all the asparagus is grown for in Australia. All we've done today to this asparagus is just roast it at about 180 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes. Just gets nice and golden and beautiful. The dressing we're going to do for it is something super simple and easy. It's a multi-purpose dressing for me. We use it for dressing a salad. We use it for, a little spoon over some barbecued or grilled meats. It's really super conventional. You can even toss a salad with it as well, over some lettuce leaves. It's just a really good alternative to pesto. So it's no nuts and no cheese, so it's completely vegan.
Okay.
But we've just got some basil here. I'm going to tear off some parsley, the whole bunch. Straight in there. I've got some garlic, some chili, and I'm just going to zest a lemon in here as well. So all I'm doing here, I'm just going to top and tail, I suppose, the lemon. And I'm going to sort of segment on the outside. I'm going to try and not have as much as this pith, because that's what actually makes it bitter. The less work you give your machine to do, the faster your dressing is going to come up. And ultimately, whenever you're blending herbs like this, you don't want to have obstruction when you're blending. You don't want to have, if I put this whole lemon in here like this, it'll take too long to blend. So when you're dealing with herbs, you want to blend as fast as possible. So what that means is, yes, we're going to use a food processor, but we're only going to blend for about 30 seconds. So I'm going to get about 250 mils of oil in here, and I'm just going to blend it, and that's it. So now that the dressing's done, that just takes sometimes 20 to 30 seconds. As I said, from this stage, we can put it into a container or a salad dressing bottle and leave it in the fridge. It keeps up to a week. But for now, I just want to develop some flavor into this asparagus salad. The darkened asparagus from roasting the vegetables is really nice, but I'm trying to juxtapose some color here with the dressing and the blood orange and the fennel that I want to incorporate. All I'm doing here is just dressing a little bit of apple cider vinegar. It's just a little quick pickle. Again, I'm going for some acidity because all we've put on the asparagus is some chopped thyme. So chopped thyme and some olive oil into the oven. So I'm just going to leave this here for a few moments and let it naturally break it down a little bit. It won't be too much because we're using fennel. I really want some citrus on this. So as much as the acidity from the apple cider vinegar is really good, I feel as if the citrus from blood oranges is something that's, one, colourful, and it's going to increase some colour onto the plate, but it's going to give us a different type. So I'm going to just do a little bit of blood orange zest over the top. And the same way as I did with the lemons, I'm just going to remove the pith and do like slices. But the reality is, if you just had, if we just approached it a little bit differently with our salads, that's something that we've always done.
Beautiful colour in the blood orange,
it is,
isn't
right?
it? Yeah.
And again, if you don't have any blood oranges, you can just use a navel orange or a grapefruit if you want. Like, it's whatever, a little bit of everything in here. And we're just building the salad. And now the fennel has done its work. the apple cider vinegar has done its work on the fennel. It's nice and acidic, and it hasn't broken it down completely. It hasn't deteriorated. But the fennel now has a different level of acidity. So as much as you've got sweet and acidic oranges, you're now going to have some beautiful, sweet, fresh fennel. Again, we're playing this game. I like to work on textures as much as I can. Excite the palate when we eat as much as possible. So I'm even going to incorporate some pumpkin seeds over the top. And again, like you mentioned before, for the vegan contingent of the world can eat nuts and pumpkin seeds, and that's fine. But again, I wanted texture now to finish our dish with now. The dressing here, I said it's really loose. It doesn't really change its consistency much when you keep it in the fridge overnight or whatever. Just a little over the top.
Wow.
And as I said, this is really good on roasted and grilled meats off the barbecue or out of the oven. So it's super easy. You can make that any time. As I said, this keeps at least a week in the fridge.
Thank you, Petros, for sharing. It looks and smells absolutely divine. And for more information on Petros and healthy eating, then please go to our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And for now, we'll say bye-bye, and we'll see you back here next week.